everybody. Today we're going to go over the unit circle and all the common angles in the unit circle. So here we have 4 quadrants. Each quadrant is made up of 90 degrees. One full revolution is 360 degrees. Now we can divide each quadrant into 3 equal angles, 3 30-degree angles. So if we divide the quadrants, let's do that. Here we have so these are 30 and 30-degree angles. It's making up the 90-degree angle. We can do the same thing with the other quadrants. All 30-degree angles. So all 30-degree angles. Then let's do the last one. Okay. Now, the first angle, 30 degrees or pi over 6, you've seen my other video about angles. 30 degrees is pi over 6. Now, each one, remember, all of these are 30 degrees, so you can add to it 30 degrees to get 60 degrees. Add to it 30 degrees, you get 90 degrees, which you already knew that this is 90 degrees. 90 plus 30, that would be 120. 120 plus 30, that's 150 degrees. 150 plus 30, that's 180 degrees. You already knew that. This is a straight angle. 180 plus 30, that would give me 210 degrees. And 210 plus 30, that's 240 degrees. Add 30, 270 degrees. Add 30, you get 300. Plus 30, that's 330. And then becomes here, it becomes 360. You get full revolution. Here we started at 0. Okay? So we were able to go from one to the next by adding 30-degree angles. Some of them you already knew. These are 90 degrees, 180 to 70, and 360. Now, you can, you know how to convert the degrees to radian measure. You've seen it in my previous video. But you can also go about doing this in a slightly different way. Since they're all equal 30-degree angles, so you're adding to each one, not 30 degrees, you're also adding pi over 6. So this is pi over 6. This one must be 2 pi over 6. This one, 3 pi over 6. Add another pi over 6, 4 pi over 6. Add another pi over 6, 5 pi over 6. Add another pi over 6, that's 6 pi over 6. Add another one, that's 7 pi over 6, 8 pi over 6, 9 pi over 6, 10 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6, and 12 pi over 6, or simply 2 pi. Now we're going to simplify some of the angles. 2 pi over 6, divide by 2, that becomes pi over 3. So 60 degree is pi over 3, which we've seen in my other video. 3 pi over 6, you divide this by 3, you get 1. You divide this by 3, you get 2. So 90 degrees is pi over 2. 4 pi over 6, divide this by 2, divide this by 2, you get 2 pi over 3. So this angle is 2 pi over 3. You might want to erase the old one just to not to confuse yourself. And here's 2 pi over 3. This does not simplify. You leave this alone. 5 pi over 6. This is 6 pi over 6. That means the 6 cancel out. And that is the same as pi. Okay? 7 pi over 6 does not simplify. You leave this alone. 8 pi over 6. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 6 divided by 2 is 3. That is 4 pi over 3. 9 pi over 6, 9 divided by 3 is 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2, so this is what, 3 pi over 2. Okay, so this, you can erase it just to, 10 pi over 6, again it simplifies. 10 divided by 2 is 5, 6 divided by 2 is 3, so you have 5 pi over 3, so this is 5 pi over 3 right here. Okay, so you might want to erase that just to make it better. 5 pi over 3. And 11 pi over 3 does not simplify. 2 pi over 3. So that's what we have here. Okay, so you notice there are pi over 6 here, 5 pi over 6 here, right? 7 pi over 6 here, and 11 pi over 6 here. Okay, and here you have pi over 3. Add to it 60, you get 120, or you can also see it as pi over 3 and another pi over 3, that's 2 pi over 3. So the pi over 3 is here, 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 4 pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. So now we have one more angle we want to think about here in the first quadrant. That's a 45-degree angle. 45 degree is halfway between 0 and 90, so right in the middle. So right there, here, and that will give us pi over 4. This is pi over 4. And here in this quadrant, halfway, right in the middle. So let's go ahead, and this is 40. Okay, so this one, a pi over 4, this one's 45 degree as well. Right, so this one 45 degrees, you add to it 45, you get 90, you add to it 45, you got 135 degrees, you add to it 45, you get 180 degrees. And now let's see the next one here. So let's see, we have, so add to 180, 45 degrees, and that will give us 225 degrees. You add to it 45 degrees, you get 270 degrees. And now halfway here, that will be here. Add to 270, 45 degrees, and that will give me 315 degrees. Okay, so we already know 45 degrees from pi over 4. We've seen it before in my previous video. Pi over 4, this is 2 pi over 4. Remember, each quadrant is divided into 2 equal 45-degree angle, or 2 equal pi over 4 in radian. So pi over 4, that's 2 pi over 4, which is pi over 2. And that will be 3 pi over 4. 4 pi over 4, the 4 cancel. And here, 5 pi over 4. 6 pi over 4. And here, 7 pi over 4. These are all our common angles. Okay? Now I want to remind you of the values, what is x. So just taking a look in the first quadrant, if this is your unit circle, that means the radius is 1. Here's the point x, y. This is y, and this is x, and t right here if we're looking for cosine t. Now if you recall, cosine t is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that means it's x over n, or simply x is equal to cosine t. Now let's find sine t. What is sine t? Sine t is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite of t is y over the hypotenuse, which is 1. So that will give me y equals sine t. So let's go ahead and find each point. This point right here have a x coordinate of 1 and the y coordinate of 0, 1, 0. The first one is the x coordinate. That would be your cosine t. So this is cosine 0, t in this case 0, and here is sine 0. So the first one is always the cosine of the angle. Okay. And now let's take a look at the next one here. The first one here would be cosine pi over 6, sine pi over 2. Now cosine pi over 6, if you recall, it was root 3 over 2. We derived that one. And sine pi over 6 is 1/2. Remember, all the coordinates, the x and y, are both positive in the first quadrant. In fact, all trig functions are positive in the first quadrant. Now, this is 45 degrees or pi over 4. The cosine and the sine are the same. Now, if you recall, they were root 2 over 2 or 1 over square root of 2. So this is root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. So now this is pi over 3. Let me erase that, and so this will be easier for us to include this. So now we have cosine pi over 3, sine pi over 3. Cosine pi over 3, remember the cofunction identities. Cosine pi over 3 is the same as sine pi over 6. So this one would become 1/2. And the cosine pi over 3 is the same as sine pi over 6. So sine is the same as cosine, so that's root 3 over 2. So the sine becomes the cosine, and the cosine becomes the sine. The x and y flips. Remember the cofunction identities. Okay. And last one right here, and the pi over 2, what's that point? Well, x is 0 and y is 1. Now recall the first one is cosine. So cosine 90 degrees is 0. Sine 90 degrees is 1. Okay? So now we found all the points here, all the common points in the first quadrant. So let's go ahead and do the rest here. So this one right here is 2 pi over 3 and 120, right? What is that point? Now remember, 2 pi over 3, the reference angle of 2 pi over 3 is pi over 3. So there you have it. So you're going to have the same actual values, 1/2 and root 3 over 2. So that's 1/2 root 3 over 2. But remember, this is the second quadrant, which means the x coordinate must be negative. The x coordinate would be the first one right here, the cosine. The cosine in the second quadrant is negative. So this is for right here, 2 pi over 3, 120. Now let's go ahead and find the point that corresponds to 3 pi over 4. Now remember, 3 pi over 4, the reference angle is pi over 4, right? So pi over 4, they're the same, root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. The only difference, just like we've seen, the cosine here is negative. Here is 5 pi over 6. 5 pi over 6. The reference angle is pi over 6. We're looking at the pi over 6. So that's root 3 over 2, 1/2. Root 3 over 2, 1/2. Again, the cosine here is negative, or the x-coordinate is negative. And right here, the pi, so let's erase the 6 here. Pi, we know that point is -1, 0. So -1, 0. So cosine pi is -1 and sine pi is 0. Now let's take a look at this one right here, 7 pi over 6. Now 7 pi over 6, the reference angle is pi over 6. So root 3 over 2, 1/2. That's root 3 over 2, 1/2. Now remember, root 3 over 2, 1/2, this one is in the third quadrant. In the third quadrant, both x and y are negative. So that means these two are negative. Both the cosine and the sine are negative here. Now going to 5 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, the reference angle is pi over 4. So we're going to be root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. So that's the same. But again, they're both negative. Okay. 4 pi over 3, the reference angle is pi over 3. So there it is. Pi over 3 is 1/2 root 3 over 2. So 1/2 root 3 over 2. But again, you have to remember that they're both negative because we're in the third quadrant. 3 pi over 2, that point is 0. The x-coordinate is 0. And the y-coordinate is -1. So cosine 3 pi over 2 is 0, and sine 3 pi over 2 is -1. Okay, so now let's take a look at this one, 300. Just going to erase to have more space here. That's 5 pi over 3. Okay, so let's go ahead. 5 pi over 3. The point right here, remember the reference angle is pi over 3, and you know pi over 3 is 1/2 root 3 over 2. So 1/2 root 3 over 2. Now here, we are here in the fourth quadrant, meaning the x-coordinate is positive. So the cosine is positive, but the y-coordinate is negative. So don't forget to include the negative for the y-coordinate. Now 7 pi over 4, remember the reference angle is pi over 4, and that is root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2, same as we've seen before. X-coordinate is positive, the y-coordinate is negative. And this is 11 pi over 6, which is 330 degrees. 11 pi over 6, the reference angle is pi over 6. That's root 3 over 2, 1/2. The x-coordinate is positive. The y-coordinate is negative. And then that point is 1, 0. This is the unit circle, and with all the angles in degrees and radian and all the points. So you know where cosine and sine are positive, where they are negative. Another one that you could think about as well, ASTC, if you recall. ASTC. Here all angles, all trig functions are positive. Here the sine is positive. Here's the tangent is positive, and here's the cosine is positive. But remember, you also have to take into account their reciprocal. The reciprocal of sine is cosecant. The reciprocal of tangent is cotangent. The reciprocal of cosine is secant. So here all is positive. Here's the sine and cosecant is positive. Here's the tangent, cotangent is positive. And here's the cosine and the secant are positive. So ASTC. Okay. Or you can go by here. The x-coordinate is positive in the first and fourth quadrant, and the y-coordinate is positive is in the first and second quadrant. Okay, so that's a unit circle. Hope you find it's helpful. Have a good day, everybody. See you next video.